And I want to bring back legal panel to talk now about the suit against President Trump. And we got late news just coming over the wires now that Congressman Chavez, Republican from Utah, who heads the Oversight Committee in the House, they are now announcing they will look into the Trump Hotel arrangement, and they're looking for an unredacted copy of that lease. That's just coming across right now. Listen, Eisner's pretty transparent, and you have folks who worked in the ethics department from both administrations, Bush as well as Obama, and others that really cross over all party lines. They believe, between the emoluments clause and more, that there is a clear line here, not a gray one, that Trump has breached. Bill, what's your sense? And is their biggest challenge standing? Where do you think this case goes?
I'm very skeptical that the case is really going to go anywhere. I mean, I think you've got the standing issue. You've also got the issue that the conflict law doesn't apply to the president. You know, you've got the emoluments clause, which is what it is, but it's certainly vague. And in this case, I think, you know, the real issue here is that Trump is turning his business interests over to his two sons. Okay, and it's kind of unrealistic to suspect that this is sort of like a blind trust.
Yep.
You know that the kids are going to be talking to their father, and they're going to be conferring as to what's best and what they should do. So I think that if there's not enough transparency here, there's going to be all sorts of suspicion that the kids are just nominees and beards for the father. The father's still going to be calling the shots. And if you take a step back, can anybody really imagine any situation where Trump is not going to be involved in the family business?
Of course not.
Okay.
So let me ask you, from a legal standpoint, more than my world of optics and politics, what would it take for, if people eyewitness conversations saying, hey, look, we're talking about starting a new property over here, it would really be helpful if you know, you made some time here for the premier or the prime minister of country X, get him in the door. Would that be a blatant violation of not just the spirit, but the letter of the agreement, of the separation, basically, of the two? How would that happen?
I would think so. I mean, you got to have a smoking gun, you know, and I don't think you have a smoking gun, except unless you look to a place like Russia, you know, because there's a lot of rumor and speculation that the relationship between wishful thinking. The relationship between Trump and Putin is based upon financial dealings that they've had with each other. You know, and it's a sort of a dangerous situation, because, you know, if Trump does anything that falls with disfavor in Putin, who knows what kind of information Putin has that he's going to release against Trump. But I just think that these kinds of lawsuits are so difficult. My real concern is here, we were talking about this before, I don't know whether this case even survives a motion to dismiss on standing grounds. Wow. I really don't.
The point, Jimmy, though, for the layperson is, okay, the Washington hotel that they have, how exactly can you be both the landlord and the tenant and not be kosher?
Well, by extricating yourself from the operation of the hotel, what you're basically saying is, I'm not the tenant, I'm separating myself, my kids are taking care of it, I've got nothing to do with anything. The problem with all of that is that, is it feasible? And it's not just the Washington Hotel.
Okay, but let me say, though, the Mayflower, the Four Seasons, even better, if they can go out and say, look, my receipts are down here from where I was just 1 year ago, and look at some of the people who have taken residencies or space. They used to come to our place. Clearly, they're trying to curry favor. And even the lame excuse I heard in that press conference was, hey, I'll return the profits from international visitors. Well, I can play all kind of accounting games with that. I can use depreciation. You know, I can say, when exactly is it considered a profit? He'll take all the cost that it was to get the thing. My point is, he was even too cheap when he was trying to get around this. Isn't it inevitable that it by definition, it has to be a conflict of interest?
You would think so. And I don't know that you need a smoking gun in terms of a conversation. I read today that the price to get into Mar-a-Lago just doubled. It is inconceivable that anybody who's got business dealings with the Trump organization, even being run by his children, doesn't have in the back of their minds the fact that this is the President of the United States, and so my business dealings need to be a certain way. So I don't know. The law doesn't say, it's not the law that he has to request or demand a benefit. He cannot receive a benefit. He doesn't have to demand it or ask for it. And if what's happening is, it's just happening because it's the way people are reacting, and it's a problem. And as far as a motion to dismiss, if it survives standing, then we all know there's a discovery process. I don't know if there are enough facts yet, but if there is a discovery,
as you heard from the attorney, Mr. Eisen, that we just talked to, get his hold of his tax returns. I understand there's a few hurdles to get to before we get to that point, but that was the stated goal.
Yeah, the other issue is what is the standard? In other words, so like if you're talking about a conflict of interest in the context of an attorney representing a client, okay, the cases say that where there's an appearance of conflict or the potential for conflict, even with respect to a judge sitting in a case, that's enough for that lawyer to be removed from the case. That's enough for a judge to recuse himself from the case. Is that the standard you're going to apply, or are you going to apply a higher standard where there has to be real evidence that there is an actual conflict, not just a potential conflict?
But you're talking about a conflict. I'm focusing more on the emoluments clause and just the receipt of a benefit from a foreign government. It's just a little bit too easy to happen in this situation.
And I would say, Bill, there's almost, we were all looking at it as, how is Trump going to try and enrich himself, or the family trying to enrich himself? Conversely, if I wanted to be cute and I was a foreign interest that took issue with some of the policies of the Trump administration, what would you do? You'd book a whole floor at the top of the hotel and claim, tell everybody and your brother, hey, they told me if I did this, they'd provide special access to me.
There's no question.
It could be a mess.
There's no question that you're walking through a minefield. But again, the bottom line is, if unless you have evidence that his divesting his interest to his children and letting them run it is all a smokescreen, I don't think the lawsuit goes anywhere.
Okay, guys, let me ask a first guess here. And we joked around with the congressman that it's been 3 or 4 days and it feels like 4 months already. Where do you think legally, I'm not talking about Supreme Court, appointment, confirmations, anything of that sort, legally in terms of potential exposure for this administration, you've already seen some tells where they're like, they got to be careful here, because they haven't put in, basically some bright wall or some person's got to approve all of it to make sure that there's no conflicts. They've created no buffers for themselves to at least cover themselves. Where do you guys see that's where these guys could run into trouble? You haven't mentioned this, Rich. That's where I'd be worried if I was them. Where would it be?
There's so much to look at here. I mean, this is a guy who's very unique. Forget about the fact that he's president. I don't know of any person in my memory that has got financial interest throughout the world. It's not just in one particular region. You look anywhere and there's some Trump stamp there. And so, I think all you need is this one instance where
there's logo all over it.
Yeah, well, but you hit the nail on the head. The real danger here is you get somebody who basically claims that they got access to the president, and they were told through the children, you do this for us, and we'll make sure that you get what you want through the president.
And to me, Jimmy, I mean, even look, they tried to do that, camo and whatever. Where they offered you write a check for $1 million, we'll get you access to the old man. Right. Well-intentioned though it might be, this is a reckless group, sometimes not ready for prime time.
And it's different.
And it's only 4 days in.
All right, guys.
Thank you very much. Now, when we come back, the Dow, well, it spiked to 20,000 today. The first time in history the market has hit that mark here. A new landmark legal ruling actually protects the very integrity of the markets themselves. We spoke with a lawyer who actually won the case. Stay with us.